Hello there, Bick Benedict here. We're playing God of War 2018 on Give Me God of War difficulty, and this is my guide and walkthrough. We're currently on the last part 20, and this is the final boss fight versus Baldur. You remember Baldur, he was the stranger boss fight from the first part. A letdown of a fight. I can't even go into it right now because I need to preface the video with some prerequisites for this fight that you probably want to heed, but they're just suggestions at the end of the day. Prerequisite, the first. Go to the audio section in the settings menu and turn the dialogue volume to 0. Turn off the subtitles too, just so that you don't have words that you cannot hear captioned on the screen while you're trying to do the fight. Now, what is the reason for that prerequisite? It's quite annoying, in my opinion, to even hear anything that this voice actor says, because he's incredibly annoying, and I don't know which one is more annoying, Freya or him. You know, leave my son alone, leave my fucking son. You fucking shit. Shut the fuck up. You know, I don't want to hear that shit. But once you fulfill that prerequisite, here's the next thing that you probably are going to want to do. Go to the accessibility section in the settings menu and change the repeated button presses option to hold from tap. It defaults to tap, so you want to turn that to hold. And the reason for that is if you don't like repeated button pressings, that's one thing. But if you're going to be doing this fight a lot, you're going to definitely want to use that feature, because it's easier to do. It's just objectively, it's the truth too, because whereas you're just tapping with a finger, you don't have to do anything but just hold with your thumb. So anyway, there's going to be several phases of this fight over here. Now, at certain times, Freya is going to try to grab you with these vines, but they also grab the boss. And the good thing about the AoEs is that they don't cause you to get hit by the boss, because if you get grabbed by the vines, the game seems to grab the enemy by the vines too, so that it serves really no purpose in the fight, but alas, it's in the fight. So on this phase, you've got him in his ice form, and from what I remember, we do have a sort of a longish fight over here. Now, you see the shadow on the battlegrounds? That is the Titan moving around, moving his arm around to throw down a collection of snow at you, and it can be quite difficult while you're doing this fight to react to the avalanche that falls over the entire battlefield. How do you avoid it? Do you just jump over it like you would in other God of Wars? Even the mobile phone game, probably. I bet you can jump in that. No, you don't, because, well, you can't jump unless it's a context action that you do in this game. So since you can't jump, you just need to make sure that you're more or less facing the snow, and you hold the guard. So just shield against the snow and you don't take any damage. But if it's at the side of you, like a 45-degree angle, I think, that's going to hit you every time. And obviously, if it's right behind you, you can't block from behind. So as long as the angle isn't so bad that you can get hit, I would say that you're probably going to be safe. But it can be difficult to react. The FOV in this game isn't very wide, so it's intentional. However, you definitely want to be on the lookout for when that avalanche is coming. Now, the shadow that I spoke of before, you don't have to get out of the way of that. That doesn't hurt you, like on the Kronos boss fight, if you remember. That was a little tell that the boss was going to slam his arm in that area of the shaded part, but that's not the case with this boss fight. It's just he's moving to a certain location, and you need to be aware of where he ends up so that you can react to the snow. Okay, now one of the main tenets you're going to want to heed when you're doing these fights is that you never ever want to spend too much time right next to him. Like if you're right next to him and you try to do the super plume, doing all of those moves without getting punished by his little get off me move that he does, where it flashes red and it knocks you over and deals you a hefty amount of damage. He's got preventative measures for anyone who loiters near him, because he doesn't like people doing that, and I can understand. They don't want you to abuse the boss. They don't want you to pin him and not be able to have him do anything to defend himself. So just be careful of that. There are also times when he's in these elemental phases. This is not the checkpoint either, by the way, I don't think. Actually, yeah, that's the checkpoint. Sorry. There are phases when he comes at you with an elemental smash, and that's perfectly parryable too. It does break your guard, but if you parry it incorrectly, you get dealt a lot of damage. Oh God, dear me, Jesus H. Soda Pop Christ, man. 12 hours. What is a Big Benedict Productions guide without me saying something about a boss taking me so long, or a Protect the Translator section taking me almost 100 hours to do? How many hours is 100 hours? That's days, man. Days. But this only took me 1/2 of a day to do. Now, don't you remember I said that I already beat this game? I've already gone through this game before, but I still had a big problem doing this boss. It was like intentional. So what I've done over here, and the only thing I compare it to is when I was New Game Plus cycling Dark Souls, and I had problems with certain times. Like, I had a problem with the final boss on like New Game Plus 6, and then when I did New Game Plus 7 on that, I didn't have much of a problem with it. So it doesn't matter that you've already beat a boss, you can still get owned to a boss. And this took me, for whatever reason, 12. I'm not kidding. I am not kidding. I've been on this for days. I haven't even finished recording all of this either. There's another phase after this too. Now, we have a lackey problem here, but you don't have to always save your... if you run out of runic attacks when there's lackeys coming, it's not the end of the world. And when they jump on you, it takes no damage from you, and you can actually run into a blessing of a situation if that happens, or a nightmare of a situation. It can be a blessing if you use that to iframe through a jump, but it can be a nightmare if you're just coming out of that when he's just slamming into the ground. So the runics that I use over here, I use Tears Revenge, and I also use the Blessings of the Frost, but I use the latter first and the former second. And the reason for that is, when I use Tears Revenge, I want to make sure that it has the Blessings of the Frost on it, so they can get max frost damage for myself. And now, there's only one time that I use Tears Revenge on this. There's only one specific time where I know that he's going to stand still enough for me to use Tears Revenge, so that I don't end up wasting it. Now, when the lackeys come, all you have to do is keep using the boy's arrow. You can't use his summon for some reason, which I really object to. I mean, I know he's not with us, but why can't we use the summon here? It's just ridiculous. I didn't have any rage over here too, so I couldn't cancel out of any attack that was a red one, and I could almost get hit by it. I was really lamenting that I had wasted my rage before. But so here it is. So when the lackeys come out, I switch to the blades, because I use those runic attacks to help me deal with the lackeys. And even though I said you don't need runic attacks, well, the runic attacks, they can help get them out of your way more quickly. Like, there's gonna come a time, every time the lackeys are gone, I switch right back to the axe, and I wait for him to do one move where he jumps up into the air. It's a move that flashes red, and he comes down in 2 bombardments. Let me see. 1 right there. Right, he's coming down again. 2. Stop right there. Use blessings. I must be waiting for it. But after that second bombardment, I activate blessings, and then I throw Tears Revenge. I use the lock on to make sure that it just doesn't miss. You don't need to, though. But I use lock on to locate him and target him, and then I throw Tears Revenge with the Blessings of the Frost to deal some considerable magic. And I also can't speak highly enough of the Talisman of Unbounded Potential. Your potential is limitless when you use it, so it can give you some good results for yourself if you're careful. But this is a really long fight, and you might wonder, well, what did you keep dying to? Well, I couldn't preserve my health, but the thing about it is, he's going to continually come after you with these long-range jumping attacks, and if you've already fought the stranger a lot in the first video, it's the same sort of situation where they're really easy to dodge, and I only would warn you against the elemental one when it comes, because sometimes it seems like it's been a little bit unfair to me on occasion. But when I have him stunned with Tears of Revenge, I let loose the boy to stun him even more with lightning arrows, add all that elemental damage up, and I also then use the T move with the square, or with the shield, sorry, to damage him. And it's actually it's a bad situation when you think about like, you want to get grabbed by these guys. That's the horrible part of it. But coming out of a grab, even though you take no damage from it, like the initial instant where you come out of it and you turn the camera around to see where he is, if there's a bunch of other ones around him, it's really hard to locate him. And the moment of coming out of the grab and being so disoriented and trying to figure out what's what, like, that's probably I would say the only downfall of this situation when you get grabbed, because it is good to get grabbed, because then you can have one enemy gone for good, and then you can really get on the ball with stringing the lightning against them and stuff like that. But you might want to think about not even doing, if you stun them, you might not even want to think about doing R3, but I don't know, something about it, I feel protected when I'm doing that grab. But the initial disorientedness is just brutal. I mean, you get dealt some severe damage on this fight, and I hate to say this because I know in the future I'm gonna say the opposite, but like when I know this guy a little bit more, okay, blessings guys, blessings, and then Tears Revenge, beautiful, because if he's moving too much, you're gonna miss Tears Revenge. Oh, what would a fight be without accidentally activating the fucking rage? Also, the two projectiles that he sends out, it's actually disadvantageous to parry them, because there are some moves where he comes after you after you've parried, where it's close to almost impossible to parry him. And I hate to say that, but it goes against everything I do to not parry, so it's actually harder for me to not parry than to parry those projectiles. So if you can just shield against them, you're actually better off. Okay, and it doesn't matter what form he's into. If he's in the fire form, you can use the blades runics, it doesn't matter. But man, this fight is just ridiculous. It is. And like I was saying, I'm probably gonna have a different opinion in a couple of years about this fight, but as of right now, I mean, anything that takes me 12 hours, I have to admit that it is hard. I mean, really hard to do this boss fight. Even the next part, I've been on it for a couple hours. It is fucking hard. And I don't know what to say about this part, because I don't know if it's hard exactly. I do know, and I have a couple complaints over here, but before I mention any of those, I just want to say that this phase is purely the previous two phases just fused into one. So he has an ice phase, and then he has the fire phase, and he switches them. He never switches too quickly. But sometimes it feels like you've just switched to one and then he's switching back. And I think it has to do with the cumbersome way that you switch weapons in this game. It is, from my opinion, it's just, it's too animation heavy. It stops you from a dead sprint. I mean, like when you're sprinting and then you switch, you're instantly stopped. And I get hit so often during that stopping point, and it's so... overall, it's just so it's not really, it's one part awkward and one point convoluted. It's one part, excuse me. If you didn't know, and I should have mentioned this, but I thought everybody does know that when recalling the axe, whichever, if you're using triangle or R1, you can simply. I'm going to reference how I play because I don't know any other way of playing. I wouldn't be able to use the R1s, the R buttons. It's just too weird that way. But why though? Can you instantly equip the axe if you don't have that thrown? If you don't have it out in the world somewhere to have it come back to you, why can you instantly equip the axe by pressing R1? But you can't do that with the blades with such quickness unless you press D-pad left. Now, I'm sure a lot of people they probably find that pressing D-pad left, no problem, but you can like when you press, if you don't have the thing equipped and you press R1, it's instantly in your hand. There's hardly any delay. There's very few animations and frames and stuff like that, and it's just real quick. But when you switch back to the blades, you go through this fumbling process of equipping and unequipping it, and it's just. I think this fight illustrates the whole problem with the weapon switch. It's too animation heavy. There's too many frames of dead time, and to the average watcher of these videos, you'll never see it. But when you play it and you're trying to play with such exactitude, and you hate the fact that you're getting hit because you see it as a personal failure, it needs to be quickened. It has to be a little bit more streamlined and just quick, instantaneously. There's enhancements for so many needless things in this game. Why can't there be an enhancement where there are no dead frames, like needless frames of switching stuff? And one of the other problems you're going to have in this fight is the Kratos' fat ass trying to get him to move. Yeah, come on. 11:19 p.m. What would a guide be if some idiot wasn't driving past the window? Yeah, 11:19, motherfucker. You going to the gas station to get yourself some fucking gas? Hope you burn to death on that goddamn gas, motherfucker. Throw a cigarette in there for me, you fucking pig bitch. Ruin my train of thought, piece of dog shit. Oh, Kratos, getting Kratos' ass to move. There's so much startup time, from the run. When he's slamming down, in the previous phase that I said took 12 hours, when he's slamming down, you're going to get hit if you start to charge up the sprint to go. You have to evade, double tapping the button, not just single tapping it, because you have more iframes. You're going to get hit, so those iframes are going to help you. But the startup time, the acceleration time, I wish you can completely do away with the startup frames for. They could do it easily. They could do that. They could do that if they have so many other ways of doing so many different things for needless things. So you're going to get hit on those. So just be careful, because if you sense that he's coming down in the immediate future, you have to just double tap evade to get out of there, because Kratos just can't start up. The acceleration time is just. He's not fast enough. And that is the conclusion of the video, everyone. I want to thank everybody for watching the guide. I hope that this project was helpful. I know it wasn't and won't be as helpful to everyone as my other projects where, your heart just wasn't in it, Vic. That's fair to say. It wasn't in it. Sometimes it was in it, but most of the time it really wasn't in it. And I apologize about that. I enjoy playing this game, but in my mind, I still question what is it that I'm playing. It's just, I don't know. It's a good game, but it's not a good God of War game. I think that's fair to say. But anyway, we've gone through the course of what we needed to on our campaign. We've winded our collective horns, and we've hopefully you learned something that could help you get through any particular part that you're struggling on. I'm not going to include anything after this, and I'm not going to mention anything else for fear of ruining somebody's potential experience that who wants to go through the rest of the game. But please take care, and I will probably be covering the trials, because there were some challenges that really needed to be in Ascension and they weren't. So I'm going to take this opportunity to do the trials in this game. And I will not be covering Valkyrie fights, but I will do challenges. Challenges are something that I always support on these types of games. And I believe I've got the audio humming, whining noise situated and fixed. I think it was ferret chokes is what I guess it was. Had to put these little receivers on the USB cable, and it seemed to quiet itself down, so there's no more feedback whine. Anyway, that's what it was, and that's what it is. This new game. Thank you for watching. Thanks for humoring me, and I hope I didn't waste too much of your time, and I hope that you please continue to take care wherever you are. Go easy, and I'll see you in the next video game coverage that I plan to do, which at this point is unknown, but whatever it is, I will see you there, and if you could promise me to take care, I will really appreciate that. Thanks for watching my guide.